Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
There was a good Greentext thread that got archived earlier while I was in the middle of replying to an anon asking if anyone has had an experience with a dark animal figure about 1 foot in height. He and his wife had seen it running through their apartment. I'm going to post my reply here in the hopes that the anon finds my reply. It's not really a scary story, but probably counts as a paranormal experience. Growing up, I regularly saw exactly what you've described for years. I don't remember how old I was when I first started seeing it, but I know it wasn't until after one night driving home with my family that we drove right over what looked like a black cat sitting in the road. My sister and I were the only ones to see it, and she said that she could still see it in the road behind us after we passed through. I don't know for sure if that's connected, but in the years following I would regularly see a black cat-like blur running through the hallway and into rooms. Sometimes I would even notice it in my bedroom moving at a slower trotting pace. Even when we moved a couple times while growing up, I'd still see it moving through the new hallways and bedrooms. Most of my family has claimed to at least once seen the cat, but it's mostly been my sister and I that spotted it moving around. Despite that, I always wondered if it was just part of our imagination caused by objects and lighting at the edge of our vision. There's been plenty of times I've spooked myself thinking I see a dark figure in my peripheries, only to look and realize the shadow of an object on a wall made my brain play a trick on me. Plus, we've always had cats, and sure enough, there's been times that something dark moves by and I look to see that it really is one of our cats. My dark-haired cat used to frequently stop by my room and walk under my desk while I played on my PC to get my attention. I'd almost always notice her walk under me, and then I'd reach down and pet her for a bit. But every once in a while I'd see her walk under, reach down, but not be able to touch her. Whenever that had happened, I'd get up to find out where in my room she wandered to. There were multiple times this happened, and although I knew I saw something walk under my desk, I'd search around only to find her sound asleep somewhere else in the house. Related is my cat. She's dark-colored, but not nearly as dark as the cat. Although I had good reasons to believe that the cat might be more than just my imagination, I always thought there had to be a reasonable, psychological explanation for it. One night I finally got the proof that it wasn't all in my head. I was up late playing video at my desk with the door to my room open so that my real cat could come in if she wanted attention. For reference, my desk sat along the wall right next to the door, so when it was open I could see anything walking by in the hallway. It was sitting at my desk that I had most of my cat sightings as it darted by the doorway. Sure enough, that night it ran by again. But this time, instead of barely noticing it go by, my eyes snapped onto it and I got a direct look at it. Calling it a shadow cat would be accurate, but I want to be more specific. It was shadow-like, but not pitch black, more like a dark slate color. It had the body of a slender, short-hair cat. I didn't see any eyes on it, but it had a slender nose, snout. It had ears, but I'm not sure how large they were since they were pointed back in the running position. It was the size of a regular house cat and a little smaller than the cats I had. It didn't have fur and instead seemed to be made up of literal shadow. I'm not really sure how else to describe what the material it was made out of was, but if you've seen something like this or one of those shadow person things, you know exactly what I mean. Although I know what I saw, at the time we had 2 cats and I knew no one would believe me if I didn't check on them. So I got up and found one sleeping on my bed behind me and the other sleeping on the couch in the living room opposite of where the cat ran to. Related is a black oriental short hair, and it's actually pretty close to what I saw, except the snout isn't quite as slender and it should come to more of a point at the end. As far as I can tell, the cat is benign. I've never had anything physical happen because of it and never really felt put off by it. After I found out it was a real thing, it almost became a reassuring presence whenever I saw it, like a frequent visitor passing by. But for what it's worth, while I never got a bad feeling from the cat passing by, I did have 3 bad dreams that seemed to have involved it. The first dream took place inside of the home my family lived in at the time. A dark cat that looked like what I'd see in the real world sprinted through the hallway and into my bedroom where I was. It lunged on top of me and started biting and clawing all over my face, and I struggled to get a hold on it. When I finally had it, I held it against the ground, but it kept fighting me, so I put my knee on it and crushed it until I broke its back. I was horrified by what I did and woke up feeling physically heartbroken for having to harm a cat. Growing up, I was a bullied loner, so I often felt like cats were my only real friends. Hurting one felt terrible to me, even if just a dream. The second dream happened years later. I was on the deck of a yacht-like ship and saw a dark cat struggling in the water. I jumped off the boat to go and save it, but as I got closer I saw it swimming towards me and knew something was off. When it got to me, it started to claw at me in a vicious way, so I grabbed it and held it under the water to drown it. But then I remembered my first dream and realized I didn't want to harm it, so I lifted it back above the water. While I lifted it above me to keep it at the surface, I started sinking down and then woke up. Hick related as my second cat. I wanted to include a photo of her in case an anon thinks I was just seeing her run around. I think the third dream was the last to happen. I don't remember it very well, but again I was being attacked by a black cat. This time it was clawing into my chest and I tried squeezing it against me to prevent it from being able to keep clawing. I woke up to my real cat on my chest being held down by my arms and meowing at me. This dream upset me the most because I felt like I had been played into almost harming my actual cat. It's not clear to me if these dream cats are related to the cat that ran through the house. Each time I woke up I felt like there was a connection, but I still don't understand why it would be attacking me. My sister also had dreams of the cat, but in hers it would save her from people and creatures that were trying to harm her. It would come running out of nowhere and pounce onto them, clawing and biting them while my sister got away. Because of that, she's always felt that the cat is a protective spirit. I rarely dream and don't really understand them, but if an anon can shed some light on this, it'd be very much appreciated. The main reason I bring these up is so that anon from here knows my complete experience.
In our apartment, my wife says she sees a black shadow that runs around on the ground, like a dog. The thing is, I swear I've seen this thing on multiple occasions. My wife was crying as she told me this, so I know she is sincere. I can't help but wonder if we are haunted by a dog ghost. What type of ghost is only a 1-foot-tall black blob that travels along the ground? A cat, maybe?
Aside from these rare but startling dreams, I've never had bad experiences because of the cat, and in my sister's case it seems to protect her. If yours is a dog it may act differently, but if all that's happening is you spotting it move through the house, then I wouldn't worry much about it unless it becomes a frequent visitor to your dreams or affects the physical world.
Be me. Going off to college. Cat always slept with me every night, and always woke me up before my alarm every morning. Saw her as my little guardian. Hate leaving her, but go off to college because of education. Live in residence, no pets, no joy. My roommates are okay, and haven't become friends with anyone yet. Going to bed one night, nothing special. Have usual dreams, always about flying or some equally weird. Cat appears in dream. WTF, JPG. Her paws are on my neck like she's trying to wake me up. Start freaking out and wake up. See a huge black shadow on me with its hands around my neck. Can't breathe, being strangled. It looks like an old woman wearing an old-style dress and with her hair in a bonnet. Sort of floats off me and vanishes. Shittingbricks.png. Get up and turn on the lights. They don't turn on. They flicker for a good 30 seconds. Finally they turn on after what feels like hours of sheer panic. By this point I'm on the ground freaking out and the head roommate knocks on my door. I'm still freaking out and trying to tell her it's nothing, but obviously not okay. As soon as she hears I'm okay, she shuts my door and leaves, obviously not giving a crap about her job. Whatever.gif. Give myself the 40-minute pep talk to turn off the lights again and go back to sleep. Normal dreams, normal sleep. Never saw it again. After an experience like this, I doubt anything can scare me again. Did I actually encounter Amara, or was it some other being? And did my cat actually wake me up? Still a weird story to tell, and no one else experienced anything like that on campus.
Years ago, when I was 16, in high school. Live in not quite a city, more like an old town that expanded more than it could really support. Decent amount of run-down and abandoned buildings. Get into a kind of urban exploration kick, sneaking into places and checking them out. Occasionally engage in minor looting, sometimes you find neat stuff. Manage to talk a few friends into coming with me sometimes, but only 3 are relevant for this story. One was an old buddy of mine who I'll be calling Bill, and another was a girl I had a minor crush on who I'll call Susan. The last one is the most important. He told us his name was Eli, and there's probably not much point in censoring anything for him. Bill, Susan, and I all went to the same school, but I met Eli while I was checking out some old restaurants. Spooked the hell out of me because I had just snuck in through a window and he spoke up from right behind me. He thought it was funny as hell. We get to talking, I tell him about my hobby and ask if he's doing something similar. Yeah, more or less. I like to keep an eye out for unusual things. Or things that don't belong. Okay. Seems kinda weird, but he's friendly, and I'm running around scavenging junk in a half-wrecked diner or whatever, so I can't talk. We chat for a bit, and it turns out Eli doesn't go to my school, which explains why I've never seen him around before. He listens more than he talks, and doesn't volunteer much info about himself, but I don't want to pry too much and he seems alright. We clamber back out. I startle a cat that was sitting by the window. Eli pets it before it runs off. Part on good terms. A week or so later, I'm hanging out with Bill, showing him this old 3-story apartment building or motel or something. Planning the expedition like we're getting away with the heist of the century. Suddenly. Still exploring? Eli from behind me again. Bill actually jumps and I laugh at him like I hadn't nearly soiled myself. Introduce the two, they seem to hit it off well enough. Ask Eli if he wants to come with us to explore the place Friday night. He just kinda looks at me for a second, then tilts his head and stares at the building. Good 10 seconds of silence. Yeah. Might be a good idea. Neat. Friday night rolls around. I manage to talk Susan into coming with us, so it's me, Bill and her. And Eli, when he finally shows up. I'm watching this time, you bastard. Not again. He casually strolls down the street in plain view with his hands in his pockets. He's grinning at me, he knows I was expecting another jump scare. Whatever, I introduce him to Susan, we're all friends now, let's rock. So it's about 7 p.m., still got some light out, we're standing outside the place. Building is kind of dilapidated and boarded up but shouldn't be too dangerous to wander around in, and we've all got flashlights. Also apparently a nesting ground for stray cats because I can see 3 of them sitting in what was probably an old flower bed or something, and another just darted under the front steps. The front's still locked up, but there's a side door that doesn't properly close anymore. It looks like it used to be boarded up, but that had rotted off. I may have helped it along. So we enter the building. This was a bad idea. The place is mostly normal. Old, dirty, has that slight moldy decrepit wreck smell all abandoned places tend to have. We wander around the ground floor a bit, nothing really interesting, it's mostly just a lobby. Figure we might find something more interesting on the 2nd or 3rd floors, that's where the rooms are. The 3 of us are joking around, but Eli's pretty quiet. Whenever we go into a room he'd just kinda stare into it from the doorway then pace around the walls. Whatever works for him, I guess. The rooms are all empty though, guess they cleared the place out pretty good when they left it. Only thing we saw was a few more cats darting down the halls. We look around for maybe 30 minutes before deciding to call it quits. Not a bad time, but I'm a little disappointed we didn't find someone's old luggage full of plus-size ballerina outfits or something. So we head down the stairs. And keep going down the stairs. Conversation peters off. Why are there so many steps here? Did we get turned around and go down the wrong stairwell somehow? Maybe we're coming out of the basement. Starting to smell kinda funky, probably some nasty mold down there. But there's the door, so let's see where it goes. Eli hasn't said anything for the last 10 minutes. Turns out to be another hallway of rooms. The 4 of us are standing by the stairwell looking down the hall. Kinda confused, subterranean apartments are kind of an odd choice. We decided to go back up and find the right stairs again. Eli is at the base of the stairs, looking up. I ask him what's up and look where he's looking. Something is standing at the top of the alcove. My first reaction is that we're about to get shanked by a drunken homeless man. Then things start registering. It's big, but kind of squashed and wide, like if a person was stretched out from the sides, and its legs are even more disproportionately short and stumpy. What I thought was a really grimy coat is actually long, tangled, really ratty looking hair or fur covering its body. Can't even see any eyes, just hair. There's a mouth though. I can tell because it starts screaming at us. The mouth is too wide, it looks like it starts on the side of its head, and there aren't any teeth, just thick lips and spittle. I almost would have preferred shark teeth or something. There was just something really revolting about the gaping, empty mouth. The noise itself was terrifying. I can't even describe it other than to say it's not a sound that a person could make. Like it went into my ear and started throttling the caveman part of your brain that identifies threats. It started to stagger down towards us, still screaming. We were all screaming. Except Eli, who was shoving me back into the hallway and manhandling the others into running. We didn't need much encouragement. We're sprinting as fast as we can down a dark corridor with God knows what screeching behind us. It's not very fast, but we can hear it chasing us with uneven stomps. The flashlights help, but we're moving so spastically it's throwing crazy shadows all over the place, which does not help our state of mind. There's another stairwell on the other side of the hall. If we can go back up we can find the way out. Except it only goes down. There's no up staircase, just a wall. Susan's sobbing by now. I'm not far off myself. Eli shoves us forward again so we don't stop moving, and we go down. The hallway down here goes forward a lot farther than the other floors. The ceiling is a lot higher than it seems it should be for how far down we went. That rancid smell from earlier is a lot worse. And we can hear the thing half tumbling down the stairs after us. I'm about to start running again when Eli sprints past us towards one of the doors and wrenches it open. In. It's safer. I guess we're hiding. No one argues, probably because we're all still so freaked out we'll take even a slightly helpful direction at this point. We ran into the room. I almost freeze up because there's something in there with us. It's another cat. Eli's standing in front of the door, holding it closed. No one moves, no one even breathes. Hear the thing gurgle and scream and gallop towards our room. Then, from farther away, a loud, feline yowl. Then several more. The thing roars again and we hear it go past us. I'm looking at the cat sitting in the middle of the floor. It's staring at Eli. A few seconds go by, and he quietly opens the door again. The stairs are gone, it's a hallway in both directions. One of us is making a high-pitched whimpering noise. I'm not sure who, but I wouldn't rule out any of us right now. Stressful doesn't quite cover it. The screaming is coming back. I think about going back into the room again, but Eli's already moving down the hall. The cat's following him. Susan goes after him. So does Bill. I hesitate in the first room for a second, torn between hiding in there again and making another run for it in the open. Decide I don't want to be alone any more than I want to be in that room, and I run after them. I nearly freak out when something brushes my leg. It's another cat, running beside me. Not hurting me, just ignore it. Eli's ushering Susan and Bill into another room ahead of me. I see them hesitate for a second before entering. Eli's staring at me now, holding the door open. I hear the scream again. I run through the doorway and stumble to a stop as Eli closes it behind me. Bill and Susan are there. And so are the cats. Like, dozens of them. The room's full of them. Bill's just standing there, twitching, and I can hear him cursing very quietly. Susan's sitting on the floor half curled into a ball. There's a circle of cats standing around them. Some of them are watching them, but the others are staring out into the room. All the other cats are either stalking around or sitting and staring into space. Getting freaked out again, this is not normal behavior. Hey! And then there's Eli, who is much too calm for this situation, and has somehow acquired a platoon of disturbingly focused alley cats. Seriously, there's maybe 6 of them at his sides and his back following his steps. Stay here. You'll be okay. I'll make it stop. Too panicked to question him. Also don't really know what the hell he's pulling with the cats and suddenly don't want him focusing on me. Susan proves she has bigger balls than me and manages to ask him what's happening. When he looks at her, so do all the cats following him, at the same time. What the hell, Eli? Stay. You're safe with us. I'll come back. and then he walks out with his cat followers and closes the door behind him. The cats apparently left to guard us deliberately to open a path for me to stand next to Bill and Susan. So I stand with them. They circle us again. Not sure how long we sat there, my sense of time was pretty screwed by then. Then, finally, there was a new sound. Except, I didn't really hear it, it was more like I could feel the vibration, like it was very, very loud but too low a pitch for me to hear. Made my hair stand on end and my whole body just locked up. Every damn cat is standing up and staring in the same direction. Ears back, tails down, eyes wide and huge and reflective. It stops after maybe half a minute, and the cats suddenly act like normal cats again. The ones circling us get up and wander around. A minute later, Eli abruptly walks back in. He looks fine, not a scratch on him. But he's lightly splattered with a disturbingly viscous pitch black liquid, except for his right arm, which is coated up to the elbow with the stuff. I don't want to know, I do not want to know. The cats start filtering out the door. We can go now. I don't really have a lot of clarity for a bit afterwards. I vaguely remember walking, then running out of the building. Everything was normal again, the exit was easy to find. Bill booked it the second he was outside, not looking back. A couple cats followed him though. Susan and I stood outside with Eli for a few minutes. She tried asking him what happened again, but he just shrugged and said not to worry, he took care of it. If I wasn't still so terrified, I'd have been pissed at not getting an actual answer. We all went home, Eli walked back some of the way with me, Susan got another entourage of cats. We didn't talk about anything else, and when I could see my house I felt Eli pat me on the shoulder from behind. He was just gone when I turned around. When Susan and I talked about it a few days later, she swore he'd walked home with her and that I had walked off with a cat party. Needless to say, the urban exploration stopped. We never saw Eli again. I looked around a little but I wasn't sure I wanted to find him. Susan did, though. Holy shit, did she want to find him? Pretty sure she put up missing person posters at some point. No luck though. Torpedoed any chance I had with her, Eli was all she talked about. Bill refused to discuss it at all. Didn't even want to talk to me or Susan much, thinking he was trying to put as much distance between him and that night as possible. He picked up a drug habit a couple months afterwards, and from what little I got him to talk to me about it, he'd apparently retroactively decided that night was just a hallucination from bad weed or whatever. Despite him never having touched the stuff until well after everything went down, and all three of us having the same experience when I'd never taken drugs in my life, and Susan definitely hadn't. Self-delusion is a hell of a thing. Back in the present. Moved the hell out of that town. So did Bill. Susan's still there, we still talk semi-regularly. She works at an animal shelter. She owns 3 cats. I don't have any room to judge. When I was looking to move out to my own apartment, the first thing I asked the landlords was their policy on pets. I bought a cat the first day I moved in. Bill actually left the state entirely. Still won't acknowledge weird anything happened back then. We still don't talk much these days, but once when I spoke to him on the phone he admitted that he keeps cats as well. 6 of them. So to sum everything up, I was attacked by Eldritch Hobo Bigfoot, then rescued by a magical cat boy. Thanks, Eli. You son of a bitch.
The eyes of a cat are windows to your soul. They can see other dimensions, they can see your aura, and what's wrong with you. A cat knows when you are happy, when you are in bad health, when you are troubled, or when you are hungry. He knows when you are feeling magnanimous, and he knows when you are about to die. It's fortunate that cats can't talk, because you have a lot of secrets. The cat knows.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.